Alright, what is going on, everybody? My name is the California Cougar, and that's right, I'm back, finally. After a 2-month hiatus, I am finally back on this channel making videos again. And today, we are going to be going over a summer movie recap. 2 months ago, or actually like 4 months ago, like just before the summer movie season started, I made a summer movie preview where I went over my top 5 most and least anticipated films of the summer, did some box office predictions and some Rotten Tomatoes predictions. And this time we're doing a recap where I'll go over my top 5 best and worst films of the summer. And I do have some additions to that. I will be doing most disappointing, most surprising, most overrated, most underrated, and a guilty pleasure movie. And, of course, I'll be going over the results of the box office and the Rotten Tomatoes scores on what were, like, the best and worst films and all that stuff, according to Rotten Tomatoes. Alright, so this is going to be a pretty long video, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to get into it right now. I have all the results on my phone here. I'm going to start off with the box office. So, for my summer movie preview, let me get that up. There it is. I predicted that the top 5 movies at the box office, I predicted that Dunkirk would be number 5, Despicable Me 3 would finish number 4, Spiderman Homecoming would finish number 3, Transformers The Last Night would be number 2, and I thought the winner of the summer box office was going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And let's see, how did I do on that? I don't think I did very well, if I remember right. I know a couple of the movies I predicted made it into the top 5, but I don't think I got any of the order right. Coming in, let's see. Let's see, that movie made it. I predicted that, so that's 1. Okay, so 3 of the movies I predicted to be in the top 5 did finish in the top 5, however, not in the same order that I predicted it would finish. So let's just go right into it. Finishing at number 5 with a total of $737 million was Spider-Man Homecoming. Coming in at number 4 with $790 million was Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales. That was one of my wildcard picks. I didn't quite put it in the top 5, but I knew it was going to finish top 10, so there's that, I guess. Finishing at number 3 was a very surprising one, Wonder Woman. Surprised it finished that high, $806 million. At number 2 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with $862 million, and finishing at number 1 with $972 million and still going strong, Despicable Me 3. So, yes, I got 3 out of the 5 right, and Transformers actually finished at number 6 with $604 million. So, yeah, people, I guess, got tired of the Transformers, but yeah, that's it for the box office results. Now let's get into the Rotten Tomatoes results. So, we'll start off with the worst. Now, my predictions for the worst Rotten Tomatoes scores, I predicted that number 5 would be Girls Trip with 22%. Number 4 would be Wish Upon with 19%. Number 3 would be The Emoji Movie with 17%. Number 2 would be Amityville The Awakening with 12%. And number 1 would be The Nut Job 2 Nutty by Nature at a measly single-digit 9%. Now, for this one, I didn't do very well. I got 2 out of the 5 movies right in the top 5, but again, neither one of them were in the correct order. And one of those 5 movies I predicted actually finished on the other side of the spectrum, closer to the best. So, yeah, that was a surprise. But getting into the worst, the number 5 worst, well, actually, there was a 3-way tie for the number 4 worst. All 3 of these movies were at 16%, and that is The Mummy, The Dark Tower, and All Eyes on Me. Another ironic surprise because, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, all 3 of those finished at 16%. Wish Upon just missed out on the list. I think it finished at like 18% or something like that. Amityville never came out, so obviously we don't know where that would have finished. Now, number 3, I should have known this was going to finish in the top 5. The reason I didn't think it would finish in the top 5 worst was because of the writers behind it. Apparently they wrote Iron Man, so I actually had a little bit of optimism for this one. I thought this one would finish a little bit higher, but it didn't. I should have known it was going to finish this low, and that, of course, is Transformers The Last Night at 15%. Yeah, Age of Extinction got like 19% or something like that, so yeah, I should have known it was going to finish in the top 5. That was number 3. Number 2 was The Nut Job 2 Nutty by Nature at 11%. And number 1, I almost predicted this one to be number 1, but I didn't think it would be as bad as it was. I figured it would be bad, just not that bad. So yeah, but number 1 was the Emoji Movie at a measly 8%. So that's it for the worst. Now for the best. Now, the best I did a lot better on with my predictions. I predicted that number 5 would be a tie between All Eyes on Me and Spiderman Homecoming with 86%. Number 4 would be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with 87%. Number 3 would be Dunkirk with 90%. Number 2 would be War for the Planet of the Apes with 92%. And number 1 would be Baby Driver with 93%. Now, keep in mind, these predictions... I made these predictions based off of the movies that I gave Rotten Tomatoes predictions to, so you won't see indie films. I'm not going to count the indie films that came out because I didn't make predictions for those. I'm only going to be covering the mainstream releases here. So, technically number 1 would have been The Big Sick with 98%, but I never made a prediction for that movie, so ultimately I'm not going to consider that or count it or anything like that. I'm just going to go off of the movies I predicted, if that makes any sense at all. I hope it did. But yeah, number 5 was a tie between Spider-Man Homecoming and another movie, but it wasn't All Eyes on Me. Yeah, that actually finished on the top 5 worst. But it was a tie between Spider-Man Homecoming and, to my surprise, Wonder Woman, both with 92%. Wonder Woman being one of the biggest surprises of the summer. Very good movie, by the way. Number 4 was Logan Lucky with 93%. I have seen it. It's a pretty fun movie. Or actually, number 4, 3, and 2 were all tied at 93%. Logan Lucky was one of them. And the other 2 were Dunkirk and War for the Planet of the Apes. So yes, I got those 2 movies. Well, technically it was a tie between 4, 3, and 2, but I predicted Dunkirk would be 3 and War would be 2, so I guess there's that. And number 1 was Baby Driver with 94%. So yes, I got that one right. I did much better on those. I got 4 out of 6 right. 6 because of the tie at number 5. But yeah, overall, much better with those Rotten Tomatoes predictions. Now we get into the more exciting part of the summer movie recap here. This is where I go over my top 5 best and worst movies of the summer. Now, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to start off with the top 5 best movies of the summer, and then I'm going to move on to my most underrated and my most surprising film. And then before I get into the top 5 worst, which will most likely be the highlight of this entire recap, I'm going to go over my guilty pleasure of the year, and then my most overrated and most disappointing films of the summer. So we'll start off with the top 5, and then finally my top 5 worst movies of the summer. So yeah, let's get my honorable mentions up here. Hopefully the volume, crap, that's going to be... Alright. I know I made a comment here on Austin's top 5, which came out earlier today. Where is it? I gotta find it. There it is. Alright. So let's get right into the top 5 best. Now, I have 3 honorable mentions, and those are Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Wind River, which is another indie film, very good movie, and Wonder Woman. Just missed out on my top 5. I know that's going to piss off Mr. Garrison and Jerome, but oh well. Alright, so now we get into the top 5. And starting off at number 5 is a movie that is really captivating. Really captivating. It's from a director that I really like. And starting off with number 5, my number 5 is a movie by Catherine Bigelow, director of Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. And this year she came out with Detroit. Detroit was a really good, fantastic movie. I gotta say, it was hard to watch, but really captivating at the same time. Very riveting. The first 2/3 of that movie, or actually like the first 2 hours of that movie, I'd say, are really well paced. It's hard to watch. Think of it kind of as this year's Patriots Day, where it's really hard to watch, but it's so riveting at the same time where you kind of forget about that. It's got a great performance from Will Poulter, arguably the best supporting actor of the year, and great direction by Catherine Bigelow, and overall just a fun time. Yes, it does run into a couple pacing issues toward the third act, but overall, I still say it's worth your time watching it. It's a damn good movie. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already. That's why Detroit is my number 5 movie of the summer. Coming in at number 4 is my superhero movie of the summer, and that is Spiderman Homecoming. Yes. Wonder Woman was great. Spider-Man Homecoming was a lot better. Tom Holland is Spider-Man. I'm just going to say that now. I think Homecoming is the best Spider-Man movie I think I've ever seen. Sorry, Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi. That's just how I feel. But yes, Tom Holland is Spider-Man. He is Peter Parker. He's awesome. He's kind of a smart aleck, but that's just the way Spider-Man is, and I loved him for that. Michael Keaton as the Vulture is one of the best villains in the MCU. I'd say he's right behind Zemo and Loki for the best villains in the MCU. And overall, Spider-Man Homecoming was just a great addition to the MCU. It's funny. It's got a lot of heart. Some really good characters. Some great action sequences. I'm just going to say the scene on the plane in the third act. Awesome. Awesomeness. Oh, yeah, and I do have to mention this. Hey, Super Mario Fan 03. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Super Mario Fan 03. Mr. Milkshake Michael Bay fan right there. 6 out of 10? Yeah, you're full of it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Spider-Man Homecoming is the best superhero movie of the summer. Not freaking Captain Underpants. Nah. In reality, though, Super Mario Fan 03 is a really good friend of mine, so I'm just messing with him, but because he gave Spider-Man Homecoming a 6 out of 10. But yeah. Overall, just a really fun movie. One of my favorites in the MCU now. I think it's in my top 5. And as for the one problem I did have with it was the whole running joke with the euphemism for Peter Parker and his name. What was the character's name? Flash, I think it was. But really, other than that, fantastic superhero film. A lot of fun. That's why Spider-Man Homecoming is my number 4. Coming in at number 3, another movie that's all about fun. And this is the perfect definition of a really fun summer movie. Perfect definition of a fun summer movie. And a lot of people say it's the best movie of the year, and I can totally see why. My number 3 is Baby Driver. Yes, Baby Driver. Edgar Wright's 5th film, I believe, and arguably his best. It's my second favorite Edgar Wright film behind Hot Fuzz, but nonetheless, it's still good. And yeah, Nicholas Winding Refn, this is how you do a movie like this, where you incorporate action scenes with a great soundtrack and have great car chase sequences, great characters. Yeah, unlike your pretentious, boring, Oscar-winning bullcrap movie Drive, this movie is actually a lot of fun. And it's not boring as all hell, like Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive movie was. So, yeah, some of the best action sequences I've seen all year. It's my favorite action movie of the year right now, and the opening car chase alone is worth the price of admission. And just the way it's edited, and the comedy as well. And this movie has my favorite line of the year, and it's from Jamie Foxx, and it's like, do you think I know a freaking thing about Barbara freaking Streisand? Or something like that, something along those lines. And another one, not a chauffeur, noted. But yeah, overall, Baby Driver is just a really fun time at the movies. It's a great summer movie. That's why it's my number 3 film of the summer. Coming in at number 2. I'm pretty sure everyone has this in their top 3, at least. I know Mr. Garrison, Jerome, I think my good buddy Diego, and I know Lucas all had it at number 1, and I think several others have it in their top 5. I know Super Mario Fan 03 has it at number 1, and it's easy to see why, because it is one of the best films of the summer. It was my second perfect 100 of the year, and that, of course, is Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. Now, Jerome and Gary are probably going to get mad at me, saying, oh, boo, it's not number 1. But you know what? I'm sorry. There's one movie I loved even more than this one, and you'll see what that is in a few minutes here. But Dunkirk, what is there to say about this movie? Well, it's breathtaking. That's really the word that best defines this movie. Breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. The way it's shot, the way it's edited, the sound design. It makes you feel like you're in the event. And that's what this movie's about. It's not about the characters. Jeremy Johns. Yeah, it's about the event and what's going on. And Nolan does a great job at making you feel like you're actually in the event. And just the way the dogfights were shot, I wonder how Nolan did it, because it's so hard to see how they actually did it, and it's one of the best IMAX experiences that you'll have all year as well. It's a movie that needs to be seen in IMAX, if not IMAX 70mm, but definitely IMAX at least. If you haven't seen it in IMAX, definitely check it out in IMAX, because that's really the only way to see it. Well, that or IMAX 70mm, but yeah, just from the first 90 seconds of the movie, you're just in it, and it goes on pretty much until the last minute or two, and then that's it. Especially toward the third act, it's awesome. It's so awesome, just the way everything is done. It's perfection. That's really what this movie is. It's a perfect movie. Now, you might be asking, why isn't it number 1 if it's a perfect movie? Because there's another perfect movie I saw this summer, and we're going to get into that right now. So yeah, that's why Dunkirk is my number 2. Great performance from Harry Styles, by the way. So yeah, that's why Dunkirk's my number 2. And my number 1, you all should have seen this coming. It was my most anticipated film of the summer, and my second most anticipated film of the year. That, of course, is none other than Matt Reeves' War for the Planet of the Apes. There's really no better words to describe this movie than masterpiece. This movie is a masterpiece. I think it was Chris Stuckman's first A+ of the year, if I remember right. He called it a masterpiece, and rightfully so, because this movie is a masterpiece. I had no flaws with this movie. The first one, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, was a masterpiece. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, another masterpiece. This one's even better than those first 2 films. And I gave both of those perfect 100s. This is the first ever trilogy where I've given all 3 movies a perfect 100. No other trilogy has been able to do that. And War for the Planet of the Apes is easily the best one out of them. And I'm just going to say, I forgot to mention this when I was talking about Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan better get a Best Director nomination at the Oscars. That's all I'm going to say. He better get a Best Director nomination. I'm going to say this right now. Andy Serkis for Best Actor. Hey, Oscars. I don't care if it's CGI. It's still motion capture perfection. performance. It's a performance. Give Andy Serkis an Oscar nomination. Don't neglect motion capture because it's freaking CGI. Speaking of CGI, best visual effects of the year, by the way. But yeah, give Andy Serkis an Oscar nomination. If he doesn't get an Oscar nomination, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. I swear to God. I'm going to lose it. Also, Michael Giacchino for best score as well. This is my favorite musical score of the year. And Michael Giacchino, I think he's the best composer working today. I really do. Him and Hans Zimmer, I think, are the two best composers working today. Which, by the way, Dunkirk score, I kind of got into that a little bit, but yeah. But yeah, overall, just some great sequences, beautifully shot. Woody Harrelson was a freaking menace in the movie. Nova, the little girl, Nova, she was awesome. Bad Ape was hysterical. Caesar is one of the best characters I think I've seen in a film. And overall, this movie it's a perfect movie. That's really not much else I can say about it. It's a perfect movie. So that's why War for the Planet of the Apes is my number one best film of the summer. Now I'm going to get into my most surprising and most underrated film of the summer. I'll start off with the most underrated. Now this is a film that is another part of a series. I think it's now the 5th installment in the series. And it has like a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. But you know what? I saw it. I had a lot of fun with it. My most underrated film of the summer is Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales. I know it's kind of recycled plot. It's over the top. The humor is kind of hit or miss, but it's still a really fun movie. Like, I went into this movie just hoping to have a fun time, and I did. I really did. It's also the shortest of all the pirate films, which is nice. So, yeah, it's not necessarily a great film. I just had a lot of fun with it, so that's why I consider it the most underrated of the summer. I would consider Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but that has like an 82% rating on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. And the score I gave it is actually lower than that, so that's why I couldn't put Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in there. So, yeah, that's why Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales is my most underrated movie of the year. Now my biggest surprise. First off, quick honorable mention, Wonder Woman was a lot better than I expected it to be. But my biggest surprise is actually in a genre that I'm not a huge fan of, that being the horror genre. And I hated the first movie, and I didn't think this movie was going to be any better, even with a director like David F. Sandberg, who did Lights Out, which is another really good horror film. But ultimately, I think of it as this year's Lights Out, and that, of course, my most surprising film of the summer, Annabelle Creation. Surprisingly, a very scary movie, and a lot of fun, too. A lot of fun, especially in the second act. It actually gave me a Conjuring vibe, unlike the first Annabelle. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. It's got some good scares, good tension. Way freaking better than Ouija Origin of Evil, I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, come at me. But yeah, I wasn't really expecting too much out of this film, even with David F. Sandberg directing, but I thought it was just going to be another Ouija Origin of Evil scenario, but you know what? I liked it. I had fun with it. I'll admit I had fun with it. So that's why Annabelle Creation is my most surprising film of the summer. And no, I have not seen Girls Trip yet. I hear that's another really surprising one. So I'll have to see that soon, but that's my most surprising film of the summer. Alright, now we're into the second half of this summer movie recap. Up next is my guilty pleasure of the summer. Now, this is not only my guilty pleasure of the summer, it's also my guilty pleasure of the entire year, and that is The Hitman's Bodyguard. Yes, The Hitman's Bodyguard. Man, did I have a fun time with this movie. Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson have great chemistry together. They're super hilarious. And this movie actually has some really fun action sequences as well. Yes, the script is cheesy as hell, and yes, it is really over the top. The CGI isn't exactly great, but that's why it's a guilty pleasure. Yeah, it's not a good, I can't really say it's a good movie, but it's a fun movie. So that's why The Hitman's Bodyguard is my guilty pleasure of the summer and of the year so far. Now we get into the big stuff where I start to get really mad. I'll start off with the most disappointing film. This film, like, I had a couple that came close. The Dark Tower was one of them. That was a bit of a letdown. 47 Meters Down was a pretty big blunder and a pretty big disappointment. And I had one that just missed it. King Arthur: Legend of the Sword. That's a movie that I was really looking forward to, but ultimately it just ended up being kind of boring. And you guys might be, and my pick, you guys might be thinking, seriously? You gave this a good score. I did, but then I watched it a second time, and yeah, this movie is a letdown. So, without further ado, my most disappointing film of the summer is Alien Covenant. Yeah, it was my number 5 most anticipated film of the summer, but I'm sorry to say, just didn't do it for me. Yeah, it's visually impressive, and I do think it has a couple of good tensionful moments. Michael Fassbender is good in the movie, but other than that, the movie's kind of boring, honestly. It's boring. The characters make the stupidest decisions at times, too. Especially around the second act of the start of the second act of the movie. They just make the dumbest decisions. And the other characters, you just really don't care about. Like, Catherine Waterston's character, she does nothing until the third act of the movie, and then that's when she's supposed to be, like, this badass Sigourney Weaver-esque character fighting aliens. But you don't really care because she has no development in the first hour and a half of the movie. So that's kind of a big problem. Also, there was a scene involving a flute and Michael Fassbender's character where I was just like, really? Really? You had to have that in the movie? But above all, the movie was predictable as hell. It was so predictable. So, and that ending too. One of the worst endings of the year. Yeah, like, you don't see that coming a mile away. Give me a break. So that's why Alien Covenant is my most disappointing film of the summer. It's my most disappointing film of the year as well. I wanted to love it, just didn't do it for me. So yeah, up next is my most overrated film of the summer, and you guys should all know this. I did a movie review on this channel going over in detail as to why I couldn't stand this movie, and it's another horror film. It's from what I consider the most overrated film company working today, A24, and that is It Comes at Night. Yeah, It Comes at Night. How about it's crap all the time? I couldn't stand this movie. It's stupid. It makes no sense. It uses the same old metaphorical bullcrap that a lot of other A24 films rely on. And it's just pretentious art house garbage. That's why I couldn't stand It Comes at Night. I went over it in my review. I don't really need to go over it anymore. Overrated as hell. The movie sucks. It's boring. Nothing really happens until later on in the movie. And just the way Trey Edward Schultz acted towards fans. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Screw you. So yeah, that's why It Comes at Night is my most overrated film of the summer and of the year so far. Now we get into the actual top 5. Now before I go into the top 5, of course I do have some dishonorable mentions here. I have 4 of them. And those are Everything, The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, Snatched, and The House. Those 4 films just missed my list. So now we get into the actual top 5. Coming in at number 5, another 5th movie in a series. Wonderful. Of course, this series has overstayed its welcome. The freaking director just needs to stop. I hope he keeps his word this time. My number 5 is Transformers: The Last Night. let's hope it's Transformers: The Last Michael Bay Transformers movie, because I'm tired of them. I'm really tired of them. You guys saw it. I did a 30-minute rant on it. I don't really need to go more into it. It's phoned in. The dialogue is cheesy and awkward as hell. The romance between Mark Wahlberg and, I don't remember her name, but the British Megan Fox character, I'm just going to call her that. Credit to Jerome Latimer for that, but yeah, he calls her the British Megan Fox, so I'll just say that. The romance between her and Mark Wahlberg is forced and contrived. Action sequences suck for the most part. It's the same old bullcrap you see in every other Michael Bay Transformers movie. So that's why Transformers: The Last Night is my number 5. Now my number 4. Another movie I did a huge rant on. This is a comedy. It's a comedy based off a TV show. We saw those earlier with Chips this year. Now we have Baywatch. Man. Dwayne Johnson, what were you thinking? What were you thinking being in this movie? Seriously. More forced and contrived jokes. Has one of the worst scenes of the year with the morgue scene. There's another scene at the party with the fat guy, John Bass. It's stupid. This movie's stupid. That's really the best way to describe it. It's forced, it's contrived, it's stupid. So that's really why Baywatch is my number 4. A lot of people think say it's their guilty pleasure of the year. I'm sorry, I don't really understand it. I think it freaking sucks. So yeah, that's why Baywatch is my number 4. Moving on to number 3. Oh man, everyone probably saw this movie coming. In fact, I'm sure a few people are surprised it's not number 1, because I know it's on a lot of number 1. I know it's number 1 on a lot of people's lists. But yeah, who the hell asked for this movie? Oh, that's right, nobody. I'm talking about the Emoji Movie. This is one of the worst, most pathetic, forced, contrived, unneeded, stupid animated films I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm not even kidding. And it's got one of the worst characters of the year. And that is James Corden as High Five. God, he was so annoying. I mean, I knew this movie was going to be bad, but I was at least hoping it would be bearable. It wasn't. It really wasn't. It was unbearable. It shows that Hollywood is reaching for the bottom of the barrel, scraping the bottom of the barrel for ideas for kids' films, and it panders right towards kids because it's a movie about freaking emojis. What do you expect? And it's also got one of the worst quotes I've heard all year, that being, "Emojis are the most important form of communication." Really? Really? You have to go there, don't you? But yeah, there's really nothing else to say. It's pathetic just to how far down Hollywood would scrape the bottom of the barrel for money. It really is. Emoji Movie's my number 3. Moving on. Alright, my number 2. Oh my god, this was my least anticipated film of the summer. You guys should know it by now. If you've seen my list of, if you've seen my summer movie preview, this is number 1 on my least anticipated films of the summer. I saw the trailer. Oh my gosh, kill me now. I saw the movie. Oh my gosh, kill me even more. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul. Kill me. That was my thoughts during this movie. I had to take 5 breaks. This has some of the worst scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. There's so many of them. It's hard to pick just one. Like, you got the intro with the whole diaper hands thing. You got the chase sequence with the beardos at the motel. You have Roderick putting a pizza in a safe when he thinks it's a microwave. Like, you have the whole hot tub sequence where like Greg knocks cheese curls into it or something, and it turns the whole thing orange, and then he comes out with like this orange paint look on his body. And then you have the scene at the fair where Greg and Roderick are in this spaceship ride, the spinning spaceship ride, and then Roderick, he had eaten 9 sticks of butter. Like, who the hell does that, first off? Like, I would get sick after 1, let alone freaking 9. But yeah, you have Roderick who eats 9 sticks of butter, then he goes on this spinning ride. Yeah, stupid idea. And then Mr. Beardo somehow manages to jump on the ride, and then it leads up to this scene where you have Roderick puking in this worst CGI I've seen in a long time. Some of the worst CGI ever. And then you have this other scene where there's seagulls involved, and then you have a Psycho rip-off scene. But the worst scene in the movie, by far, is the Video Game Expo, where Alicia Silverstone, one of the worst freaking characters of the year, like, she is running up onto the stage. She finds Greg at this video game convention. Greg's trying to meet with this Let's Player, and then it leads up to Alicia Silverstone saying, like, oh, he's Diaper Hands, and then the whole crowd starts chanting Diaper Hands, and then Alicia Silverstone drags him off the stage. I'm just like, oh my god, what are you doing? Oh my god. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul. Number 2 worst film of the summer. Don't really need to say more about it. There you go. Alright, and finally my number 1. Oh my god. If you haven't figured it out by now, and you've watched my videos in the past, you should know I did a 40-minute rant on it on my channel. I knew immediately after watching this movie this would be the worst film of the summer. And it managed to hold up. My number 1, Rough Night. Or as my good buddy Jerome likes to call it, Rough Nightmare. Because it was a nightmare to get through this freaking movie. But yeah. Scarlett Johansson, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? Jillian Bell, you are annoying, you are garbage, you were in Fistfire earlier this year, that was terrible. Stop making movies, just stop. And Kate McKinnon, you suck. I'm sorry, you're not funny, you suck. Okay? Like, you had Ghostbusters last year, Office Christmas Party, Masterminds, and now you have this bullcrap. So yeah, just stop. Stop, okay? You're not funny. One of the worst actresses working today. This movie is extremely forced. Like, Chris Stuckman says there's a sisterly bond. He likes the sisterly bond between the characters. I'm sorry, screw you. Because they have some of the worst chemistry I think I've ever seen. It's not funny, it's awkward. It's got some of the worst sequences of dialogue and just overall sequences as a whole I think I've ever seen. It's so stupid, so forced and contrived. I think I'm one of like 3 or 4 people that has this as their number 1 worst film of the summer. But I really think it deserves the number 1 worst film of the summer spot because that's how I feel about it. It's worse than Bad Moms. It's worse than Ghostbusters. It's the worst female-led comedy I've seen since The Other Woman. I'm going that far. This movie is atrocious. There's nothing redeeming about it. I gave it a 0 for a reason. That's why Rough Night is my number 1 worst film of the summer. Let's see, I'm trying to think who else would have it at number 1. I know Jerome would. I think Jackson Fulcher has it at number 1. Mr. Garrison, I'm actually not sure about him. He might have Emoji at number 1, but I know he has Rough Night up there. I know he did a review on his channel with Jerome as a guest, so I know he'll have it in the top 5 at least. But yeah, that's why Rough Night's my number 1. And that is it. So, yes, I'm happy to be back making videos once again for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my summer movie recap that I just did. And I can't wait for the fall movie season to start. It looks really promising. I'm going to have a top 5 most and least anticipated movies of the fall coming up here within the next week or so. So yeah, make sure to stay tuned for that, and that is it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more reviews and more videos to come in the future. And until next time, once again, my name is the California Cougar, and always remember to stay California cool. Peace.